When I was 22 years old, I had just graduated from college. My best friend at the time, my cousin, had graduated 2 years earlier. He worked in a call center and was living paycheck to paycheck. We would get together every now and then and hang out. One day he invites me over to his apartment for dinner. The apartment is kind of run down and honestly dirty. But we were young and didn't know any better. We ordered some pizza and went to his room to play some video games. When we walked in, I noticed that there were cameras all around the room, like security cameras. I asked him about them, and he said that they were just decorations. They weren't hooked up to anything. I thought it was kind of weird, but I didn't think much of it. After playing video games for a while, we went into the kitchen to grab a drink. It was then that I noticed a blue light coming from under his bedroom door. I asked him what was going on, and he just told me to ignore it, and that everything was fine. Naturally, I was kind of creeped out at this point, but I still wanted to be a good friend and support him, so I just let it go. It wasn't until a few months later that I found out what was really going on. I was hanging out with another group of friends and we were talking about embarrassing stories from college. One of my friends brought up how he used to have a crush on a girl, but never worked up the courage to talk to her. Then another friend chimed in and said, "Oh, I know that girl. What happened to her?" And I said, "I think she lives in an apartment near mine." Then one of my other friends piped up, "Oh, you mean the apartment with the blue light under the door?" Yeah, I heard some pretty messed up things about that place. I asked what he meant, and he told me the most insane story. He said that there was a local legend about the apartment building where my friend lived. The rumor was that the apartment had been used as a set for a snuff film, which is a movie where the people in it are actually killed. Obviously, I didn't believe him. I mean, why would my friend do something like that? And even if he did, why would it be rumored around town? It must have been some sort of misunderstanding. But I couldn't help but wonder about the cameras in his room. I called my cousin to ask him about it, and he started acting weird, like super weird. He kept telling me to just forget about it, and that it would end well for me if I kept asking questions. Then he hung up on me. This only made me more suspicious. Something was definitely going on in that apartment. So I decided to confront him. I went over to his apartment and knocked on the door. When he opened it, I could see that the blue light was still there. I asked him again about the cameras, and he finally cracked. He told me that he was watching snuff films in his room and that the blue light was from the projector. He also admitted that the cameras were hooked up and recording. He showed me footage of himself watching these snuff films, and even worse, he showed me footage of him participating in them. To say that I was shocked is an understatement. I couldn't believe that my own cousin could be involved in such a dark and disturbing activity. It felt like everything that I knew and believed in just shattered into a million pieces. I remember feeling sick to my stomach as I watched the footage. It was like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. The images were burned into my mind, and the sound of the screams and cries echoed in my ears long after I had turned off the projector. I don't want to go into too much detail about what I saw, because it is just too disturbing to talk about, but I can tell you that it was beyond horrific. It was the worst thing that I have ever seen in my life. People being tortured, mutilated, and killed in the most gruesome ways imaginable. It was like a scene from a horror movie, except it was real. The worst part was that my cousin seemed to be enjoying it. He was laughing and cheering as he watched the films. It was like he was getting a kick out of other people's pain and suffering. I was disgusted by what I saw and by what I had just learned about my cousin. I couldn't believe that he could be so heartless and cruel. I ran out of his apartment as fast as I could. I needed to get away from him and from the images that were seared into my brain. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see what else he had in that apartment. I didn't want to hear what else he had recorded. As I stumbled out onto the street, I felt like I was in a nightmare. The world around me seemed distorted and unreal. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. I couldn't believe that my own cousin was a monster. I tried to shake off the experience to push it out of my mind. But the images and sounds followed me everywhere. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't concentrate at work. All I could think about was the snuff films and the torture and the death. I was haunted by what I had seen, and I couldn't escape. That's when I decided to write the story down. I wanted to get it out of my head, to put it on paper where it couldn't hurt me anymore. But as I wrote, I realized that the story wasn't just about my cousin or the snuff films. It was about me too. It was about what I had seen and what I had learned about myself. I had seen the worst of humanity, and yet I had survived. Yet I had faced my fears, and I had come out on the other side, stronger and more resilient than ever before. I think the experience had changed me, but it had also given me a new perspective on life. I had learned that no matter how dark things may seem, there is always hope. No matter how bad things may get, I knew that I could survive anything. In the end, I decided to confront my cousin again. I went back to his apartment, but this time I was prepared. I had a plan. I had a purpose. I was going to make him pay for what he had done. I was going to make him face the consequences of his actions. What happened next, you ask? Well, that's a story for another time. I can't go into all the details here. It's just too much. But let's just say that my cousin is no longer watching snuff films in his apartment. The blue light under the door has been turned off forever. If you think this story is scary, wait until you hear the next one. Just remember, whatever you do, don't click away. And don't turn off the lights. Because if you do, you might not be able to sleep again. Or maybe you will. Maybe you won't. Who knows? You just got to keep watching. Okay, so this story isn't true. It's just a creepypasta I found on Reddit. But the thing is, how do we know that creepypastas aren't real? Like, what if they are? I mean, there are so many stories on the internet that claim to be true, but who really knows? So this story is pretty messed up if you ask me. Like, how could someone watch snuff films and not feel bad afterwards? I mean, even the main character couldn't believe that his cousin could be so heartless. It's just hard to imagine how someone could be so desensitized to violence and pain. And then the whole story about the apartment being used for snuff films. And the blue light under the door is just straight up terrifying. Like, what if there are people living near you right now who are doing horrible things and you don't even know it? It's a scary thought. But hey, I guess that's why we have locks on our doors and security cameras. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a really interesting and messed up story. So I wanted to share it with you guys. And yeah, I don't know. If you like it, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. And yeah, I don't know.